gotta excuse me. I'm in the office. I'm in the car for this one, and so I'm waiting for my guest to join me here. So I don't want to give in too much into it, but I think that we all have a story to tell, and we need to tell that story. I think that the time has come that gone past of us being silent and holding our tongue, whether it's to to keep our job, to keep that relationship, or what have you. I think it's time is far gone for us to say what we mean, to be authentic. And as I'm waiting for my guest to join me, I'm gonna tell a quick story. I had the pleasure of getting to know my great grandfather. His name, ironically, was John Lewis. Different slave name. All right, let's see, story this is there. Now, let's see if it's going to allow me to join you. So, no quest view. So I didn't have to tap dance too long because my guest is up here. So we're going to join. There's Miss Amy right there with her bouncy curls. How you
That's
doing, sweet?
right.
How you doing? You gotta excuse me. I'm in the office right now.
Is the office your car?
Yeah, there's COVID. The office, the car is the office.
It's
All
very
right.
fancy. I like it.
All right, so let me get started here. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, brothers and sisters, friends and enemies, this is Kimon Freeman. We act radio. We are not broadcasting live on the radical side of Monarchy Avenue. We are in the office. And I have a distinguished guest who's a good friend of mine and have been a very inspirational figure in my life and my journey. Miss Amy Sedman. I hope I'm pronouncing her last name correctly because I'm usually drinking when I talk to her. Amy has been Amy has been the artistic executive director of Story District since 1999 and is recognized as the driving force behind the growth of storytelling as a performance genre in the DC area. Under her leadership, Story District's audiences and programs have grown exponentially from 1,200 to 12,000 people a year, enjoying more than 25 live shows. And the next one is December 18th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time at the historic Lincoln Theater. You can hear, I believe it's Ashes Alfred, owner of the Alfred Restaurant Group, who overcame challenges with mental health and addiction to successfully operate three of the DMV's most popular French bistros. And, that's the high-priced restaurant that serves you small portions. And experience 8 other stories from several other storytellers in one incredible night live. You can book your ticket now at Ticketmaster or Lincoln Theater box office or on the bio of Story District IG page, or which you should be following right now, Story District. Now, having said that, welcome, Amy. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me. It's nice to see you.
And same here. I'm sorry for the conditions, but we're making a way. We're making a way. Uh, and one of my favorite storytellers is just recently passed away this year. His name was, excuse me, was Melvin Van Peebles, and he would say, make do. He said it a little bit more colorful than that, but the gist of it was. So we're here to make do. Now, I know you know this, but I want to say this for the sake of our audience, that one of the reasons why you've been a big inspiration to me is because I participated in Story District, and I participated when it was called Speak Easy, and I was drawn to it because we had a radio program at Weird Radio called Speak Easy, and so now Speak Easy DC is the Story District. Let's start there. What does that transformation mean to not only the audience but to you as well?
It was like we were 10 years in and we started out as a, open mic once a month at anybody out there, HR 57 on 14th Street, no longer now it's a pizza place.
Yeah, HR 57,
Yeah,
gentrification,
with
cultural genocide.
jazz. And that was the best. Oh my gosh, it was like $5. People came in and you just sign up as you got there and you get up and we'd have a theme on for stories. And it was like you could get greens and chicken and you could pay $3 for a bottling, open your BYO wine or whatever. Anyway, so that's how we started. And then we just started to outgrow that. And we also thought, okay, let's take this up from an open mic to something more. So then we started coaching and then we started making you actually pitch and audition and curating shows. And the shows got bigger and we started doing it at bigger venues. added classes, added consulting. All this stuff just kept growing, and it just seemed like time to reinvent ourselves a little and show that we were a little more grown up and offered a lot more than we once did as Speakeasy.
Well, that's what we like to call refer to as leveling up. You guys leveled up.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, you went to the next level. For those who don't know, when I participated in Story Districts, formerly known as Speakeasy DC, I did a piece called, excuse me, Anacostia Unmapped. It was called Lion and the Map. And Lion and the Map grew into a radio documentary called Anacostia Unmapped. And you got to excuse me because it's happy hour and I have not had a drink yet.
Go for it. I'll do the same.
I'm going for the water to keep this smooth.
Cheers.
Yes, absolutely. But I apologize for that. But it was funded by Local Law, Finding America, and it was funded by the National Endowment for the Arts. We actually won first place. Perendi Award. Perendi was the Public Radio News Directors Incorporated, and they leveled up, and their new name is now known as the Public Media Journalists Association. So the piece that I did with you and you helped me develop won first place, and now is known as the Public Media Journalists Association Award. So I want to thank you for making me a better storyteller. Now, that's from a personal level, and for those who are unfamiliar, Anacostia Map, we gave like digital recorders to residents of Anacostia to interview people in their own community. Stories from citizen journalists appeared on WAMU, NPR affiliate, the Kojo Nomley Show, and of course WEAC Radio. And you can still hear these dual broadcasts if you go to AnacostiaUnmapped.com, and it became also a multimedia exhibition exhibited called Anacostia Unmapped 2.0. which was displayed at the CAH Galleries, I believe is the name, for the lobby galleries for the DC Commission on Arts and Humanities. So yeah. I just want to say thank you for, you was the aperture, the way opener that made all that happen. So I want people to understand just how effective your work has been and in the lives of not only people's personal development, but also in the career development. So I owe you a debt of gratitude, so thank you.
And I appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. So having said all that, everyone has a story to tell. The whole world wants to hear it, but oftentimes it's the one story they're the most uncomfortable talking about, the one story they don't want anybody to know about, but that's the story that everyone needs to hear. Now, how is it that if everyone has this story, but they may not be willing to tell it, the story district helps them tell it? How do you accomplish that?
I mean, everybody has to make a choice of what they want to tell and what they don't. But we basically go through a process of, you might have just a raw idea of a story, or you may think, I don't have anything, and we'll help you kind of dig through your memories and figure out, no, that's something, and a lot of times, so if you come with a raw idea, we typically ask a lot of questions. We try to figure out, well, what does this mean to you, and what happened? No, wait, now hold up, slow down. I want to hear more there, and let's skip through this part and get to this other part. And then people start to, I guess, number one, get comfortable with talking about it, start to understand what their story is really about, what it really means, and then we help them build an arc, the narrative arc, which is kind of like what actually happens in the story, and the emotional arc, which is how are you as the protagonist, what's going on for you inside? How do you, as things are happening, how do you feel and how do you change?
So you help them with the structure so they're not all over the place.
Yes.
And you help them rearrange furniture in their minds.
Exactly. Yeah. So a lot of it's about structure. A lot of it's about what to keep, what to get rid of. And meaning and focus, but it's also about, sometimes it's about adding. Once you have the structure, then you have room to fill in, kind of like a building, where that's when you get to color it with a sense of, what you really want to do in your story is take people in and so that they feel like they're walking in your shoes in the moment. So okay. Like if I recall, oh no, you go ahead.
No, ladies first, if I'm interrupting.
Well, as I recall, when you first came with your story, it all started from the seed of a moment that was so infuriating to you that you walked in, you were looking at this map, and maybe you tell it, You tell that part.
Well, for those who do not know, the line in the map started with my response to a DCS article, previous owner, by the way, and they had a map of one-bedroom apartments in DC. The only problem with the map is that east of the river wasn't on the map, but Arlington and Alexandria were on the map, and it was still titled DC Apartments. And so I felt some kind of way, and I wrote an article to Jesus and 12 disciples, and got some responses, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, so what we took, that's a seed, and that's a great seed. And the way to build that out is actually to take us to the day you read that, the moment you're reading that and looking at that, and what your reaction is in that moment. And then the moment you walk into or call or whatever it was you did to have the confrontation, and you take us to that moment. And so then we fill it in with those opportunities to make it really vivid and help people feel like they are not just understanding what you're telling them, but really experiencing it.
Really experiencing it, and that's why. And we turned it into an animation. I mean, it really grew. So we made it so that children could really feel it. I'm proud to say that my son approved that work. So that's
He
why
did.
I knew we was on to something. But I wanted, for those who just joined us, I'm with Amy Sedman. She's artistic executive director of Story District. The next big show is December 18th at 8 p.m. at the historic Lincoln Theater. You can get tickets at Ticketmaster, Lincoln Theater box office, and also on the bio of Story District on the IG page here. Now, this is actually incredible because you sold out the Lincoln Theater a couple times. I've only done it once. I've done it once with my own stories, and you have done it numerous times with other people's stories. Tell us about what people can expect from that productions, or some of your memories of some of your biggest attended events at the Lincoln Theater with this production.
Oh, I love that question. Well, first, I want to give people a tip. Go ahead and go to the box office or just buy it at the door. We're not going to sell out this year because of COVID. But it'll save you a bunch of those Ticketmaster fees, which I have no control over. So I say save your money and just buy it at the door. And but
oh, I like that.
Yeah, because it's they're. Don't get me started on Ticketmaster. So, but the other thing is that it is there will be vaccine. You need to show proof of vaccine and wear a mask. We do want people to feel safe. I think people will, because there will be room. But anyway, so what to expect at a show? Yeah, typically we do sell this out because it's our best of the year. We do non-COVID years, we have at least 25 shows a year, and during those shows, about 8 people get up and they tell a true story on a common theme. The theme might be Sucker for Love.
Let's not make light of that.
True.
It has to be a true story. No Fox News over here.
No. So we take all those stories, about 130 to 150 stories, and we narrow it down to 8 that we consider really great examples of excellent storytelling. And so you'll hear 8 stories on this Saturday. And it's a range, actually. Half of them are funny. Half of them are pretty serious or poignant or sweet or just thought-provoking. And
do you make
it's a real mix.
Do you make it a point to have that mix, as you say, that diverse mix? Do you make it a point to make sure you achieve that, or you just wait and just as it comes?
It depends on the show, right? So some things really lend themselves to more serious, and some are like Worst Date Ever, straight up funny. Or we did a whole series on, Up Schitt's Creek or something. But if it's, but something like She Comes First was our what we did in 2020, right before the shutdown for Women's History Month. We had this packed house at Black Cat Club, 400 people, and we did She Comes First. But some of those were serious. They were about domestic abuse or overcoming fat shaming or things like that. But it's a mix, and one way or another, our audiences really appreciate that mix. They want to come to a storytelling show, not just they love to laugh, but they also just want to feel something. They want to feel connected, and they want it to feel authentic and real. And that's really what we strive for. So if we thought if the 8 top stories were all hilarious, you know, I guess we would have gone with that. But the 8 top stories, and if 8 top stories were all serious, I guess we would have done this anyway. But yeah, a mix is usually a really nice blend for an evening, like an evening where you feel satiated, you know?
Now, now tell us about the courage to suck and humility
Oh,
reimagined. How about that?
no! You did some research.
Hey, this is We Act Radio. Do something.
I appreciate it. So we do. So I was a creative morning speaker, and the if you don't know creative mornings, it's pretty cool. It's like worldwide. They do like once a month, or back in the day, a morning at 8 a.m. People, it's free, and you show up and they have a speaker. It's really cool, and usually like free coffee and donuts somehow. So I got to
Uh,
get the tip on how they get the free stuff. But so and they always have a theme, and the theme was humility. So I thought about it. And I actually I use that word a lot when I talk about coaching, because I really
really?
appreciate humility. And actually, that kind of goes with you, right? Because sometimes people come in and be like, I got this. I don't need to know anything. I know everything. And that's the hardest person to work with. But the folks that come with humility and an open mind are really able to grow and really get to their best story because they want to work with a coach.
I will admit that I did have that chip on my shoulder as the angry black man in therapy, a media professional coming to a space, and y'all going to tell me how to tell my story. But I had a thought in my mind, but I hope that came across as, Kendrick Lamar staying humble, because I actually did gain a lot from the structure. Because we went over several drafts, and I hope I wasn't disrespectful and I was receptive, because it really made me a better storyteller. So I would fully acknowledge that.
Yeah, I remember, and I know that I get why, right? You don't know me, you don't know us. You're like, I got this, but I remember just being like, okay, I had to be like, it's not ready, and the reason it was, I knew you could be amazing, and I knew you weren't there, and I didn't want you to get up on stage and not be as amazing as you could be. And I remember what I loved was you appreciated it. And so I really enjoyed working with you because you were like, "Yep, I'm getting the tough love. Okay,
Yeah,
yes,
yeah,
yes."
yeah.
I appreciated that a lot. But yeah, so anyway, so I ended up doing the whole thing about what storytelling is telling me about humility, and some of that had to do with just like being coachable, but also the idea that when you tell a story, you have to have some humility. You have to be honest with yourself. If you're not being honest with yourself, your coach will catch it. Be like, "Is that true?" And that can be very humbling. I can't remember everything else that was in my thing, but you can find it. The Courage to Suck was my creative
So,
mornings thing. Yeah.
but but on a personal level, the courage to suck, isn't that like a certain bravery that you have to have to, this reckless abandonment to face your fears? And because like, oh, I don't want to do it, I'm going to suck. But you have to be willing to suck in order to find your amazing moment.
Yeah, I do think so. I mean, you're an artist. Doing art is vulnerable. If you're a perfectionist and you only put the perfect thing out there, it's really hard to continue to make work or grow. You just get stuck. That said, I also believe in having good, like really being open to feedback, looking for feedback from trusted people or people that will challenge you. Because you don't want to actually suck forever. You want to be
No, you
able
want to level it
to, you want to
up.
level up. And if you're only looking for yes people and you're only looking for people to say how great you are, you won't. But yeah, I think it's a combination of you have to have some courage to create. But then you also need to have some self-awareness and welcome hearing not critique, but just like you need to really welcome the feedback,
Now,
to get better.
We Act Radio just celebrated our 10th anniversary, and Story District celebrating the 20th anniversary. And I apologize in advance. I didn't give you a heads up for this question, so I'm throwing you a curveball. But I will start off by answering the question myself to give you some time. But over those 2 decades that you've been doing this, curating stories, what's one of those stories or one of those performances that stick out in your mind I would love to hear that story. And so I would start it off because in my preparation for our conversation today, I was like, y'all had Belladonna, the old go-go band at the Atlas Performance Center, and I missed it? Like, how did I miss that?
We had 2 nights. It was so great. I got to give a
Yeah.
shout out to the commission. DC Commission on the Arts and Humanities is the folks that granted us the money that made that possible. So
Okay. All right. Shout out to my man Doug, the executive director over the Atlas. He's a good dude. I actually had lunch with him this week, and you're going to expect some beautiful things coming from the Atlas. They're doing some good work over there. And shout out to all the theaters that's doing good work. We appreciate these platforms. But what's a story that you want to share? Belladonna was mine. What was yours?
oh man, that was such a good night. Crank and Groove.
Crank
We
and Groove.
Yeah, yeah. So we did stories and music, story, music. It was very cool. I always wanted to do that again. It just didn't happen yet. But and we were
Do you
actually about
film your stuff?
what?
Is there archive footage of your work for the past 2 decades?
Yes, yes. So I just kind of hit it because I'm rethinking our YouTube. But yes, well,
Okay.
you can follow us, and there'll be stuff to find. And we have a podcast, Story District Presents. But I can put that back up, make that public. I want to give a shout out to Jessica, who was co-director on that. My brain,
Okay.
because
Shout out Jeff.
yeah. Wait, my brain is freezing because we're live. I will get her last name. But
She's gonna be Big Jessica right now. But your
yeah,
your
oh
show,
God.
Big
Oh, she's the
Jessica right
worst. She's the
there.
worst. I keep forgetting
Shout out to
names
Big
like
Jessica.
regularly in my life. Anyway, okay, we're about to celebrate our 25th anniversary, as a matter of fact. 2022 will be 25, which is crazy. And for 22
Oh,
solid
wow.
years. Yeah.
Wow.
And before COVID, we had a show every second Tuesday of the month without a break for a solid, I guess that was like 23 years.
So
So anyway,
you just like all the poor people that got a vacation during COVID. You got a break.
it did not feel like a vacation. But anyway, one of the stories, I mean, a lot of the stories stick in my head, but one that really sticks, I think, because she reached out and told me what a meaningful experience it was for her. And it was so funny, and it ended up one of our top shelf stories. So it's not a funny experience, but it became a funny story. It's this woman who ended up, this Indian woman who went to this Indian marriage conference. Have you heard of these?
No, that sounds like an oxymoron, actually, because
I know, a
they still
conference.
do arranged marriages. So
Yeah, so it's not quite arranged, but you go to this big conference and you sit at these tables and you get up, you have to do a little presentation, and then you get names. You know, someone else will come around and be like, oh, so and so wants to talk to you, and so wants to talk to you. She didn't get anybody, and she's a doctor, and she's super cool, and she's beautiful, and it was so difficult. It was like such a weird, you know. She made it funny because it was it's sort of a quirky situation. But it was a very difficult situation for her that by retelling the story and kind of reclaiming it as hers sort of changed how she felt about that experience, you know,
uh-huh.
and because she found the humor in it and she kind of found her own power in it by retelling it from her own perspective without just being the one who didn't get picked.
You said that COVID didn't feel like a vacation to you, but I can assure you for a lot of working poor people who hated their job, who didn't have the luxury of doing having a career that they love, who were working 2 jobs just to, barely make ends meet or coming home broke, they did look at it as a break. They did look at it as a vacation. They didn't have, so have you addressed stories, curated any stories that came out of that life alternate experience that we all experienced for the past 2 years?
You know, I'd like to. I was reluctant to because we were so in it.
Yeah, we still in it. Yeah, we still
I
in it.
know. I don't know why I said past tense. We're
And
way in it.
I wanted to lead with that question actually because when I read the show's description with your featured artist, the restaurateur, and he said he had challenges with mental health and addiction. I think the new pandemic is mental health and depression, how people are mentally responding. Because first we was dealing with the physical, and
Yeah.
now I think we're dealing with the aftermath of the mental. And I think that Story District offers an opportunity for therapy.
I
It was
always,
it was for this angry black man in therapy. I can attest to that.
so I have a canned response when people mention therapy. I do. It's absolutely therapeutic, but we're not therapists, so I'm always careful to not just to manage expectations that storytelling is a therapeutic process. Um, it is not therapy, though. We are not professional therapists. Yeah.
You're not a professional therapist, but you telling your story is therapeutic, and
Yes.
you are a coach and providing a platform for people to be able to do that. So I would say that's self-love.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree.
That
I do
okay.
agree. Yeah. And you know what?
So,
I haven't done that, but I'd like to. Now that you bring it up, I'd like to.
all right,
Let's
all
work
right.
on it together. You want to work on it together?
Yeah. I want to do an angry black man therapy comeback. That would be
Let's,
my return to Story District. You know.
okay. Let's do it.
Yeah, I have a story to tell. So, Amy, this is We Act Radio. We do shout outs. We already gave one to Big Jessica. Anyone else you want to shout
She's
out
not
before we?
big. She's not big. It's killing me that
She,
my wait.
she big because she's important. I'm trying to.
Okay, okay.
You didn't have a last name, so I put Big in front of her first name. You know,
No,
that's
I
how we do
can't.
culture.
Oh
You know what I'm
my
saying?
gosh. It's worse that okay. I can't believe my brain will not access this. Okay, anyway.
I would be known as Big Jessica here on We Act Radio. We're gonna we're gonna make sure that is known for a couple thousand people. I'm trying to tell you. Yeah.
Oh, this is the worst. Okay. You're not this, me not remember not being able to access this, but now I'm all nervous, so forget it. Kimon, you're such a great interviewer.
Don't tell nobody.
I won't. It's our secret.
Yeah, but this is what we have to do because you and some of that is because of your tutelage and your coaching that helped me identify structure and identifying what is good and what is not, especially when it comes to in terms of captivating the audience and keeping it interesting.
Yeah.
And you helped me level up, and I'm just honored to see that friends of like mind are continuing to be successful and creating their own way. You know, you're part of the creative economy here, and you have provided an opportunity for so many people to have self-love and the therapeutic experience of storytelling. And so I want to thank you and encourage you, and I hope everyone in the sound of our voices will join you. I'll let you wrap it up with the last promotional plug here.
Oh, I get the last promotional plug? Okay.
Yeah. And be sure to give your
Um,
website too.
StoryDistrict.org. You can follow us at Story District on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook and all that. And yeah, we do have archives on YouTube. They're in a state of transition right now. And this Saturday, get your tickets at the door to the Lincoln Theater. It starts at 8. It's called Top Shelf, and it's going to be a great show. Love to see you there. Kimon, let me know if you want tickets. I'll hook you up.
I
And
would love to be there. Unfortunately, I would be out of town on doing the Florida thing with the crazy people. But otherwise, I'll be there. I hope it's going to be filmed, and we're going to continue to broadcast this content and up until the 18th. And again, December 18th, 8 p.m. The Lincoln Theater. Find out how this sister went from 1,200 to 12,000. All right, how did he do
yeah,
that? All right, that's a hell of a story right there. And we want to thank you, Miss Amy Simon, for telling your story, for telling your story. All right.
thanks. Thank you.
I see you in the new year. Stay safe, stay strong, stay woke, and whatever you do, do something.